Record on this computer. Hello, I'm here today with Darren Cranford. Darren is a business owner in St. Catharines, Ontario. He runs Keyframe Digital and Crow VFX. Creative guy's been in the industry a long time. Darren, thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me, Lance. Appreciate it.
Great, nice to have you. Want to just dial back in your history a bit. Tell the anyone watching or listening, how you got to do what you're doing and what's the sort of path.
Wow, we started this business. Keyframe started almost 30 years now. 30 years. Oh yeah, getting close to 30 years. 26, 27 years now. It was myself and my business partner Clint Green. It was a fellow alumni from Memorial University School of Fine Arts, and we started doing stuff for animation. It was for the intros and outros of animation video games. So we weren't doing the in-game content. We were just doing the little end pieces. Back in the early 90s. It was late 90s. Late 90s. It was all about, just when a game would finish, you'd show the pretty stuff at the end. So run a little movie, and that's what we were doing. From there, a number of things happened. One of which, this is one of many, but we had a guy come into our studio who was he heard that we were really good at creature animation, and he was doing a movie that had nothing to do with animation, but he was doing a live action movie and needed a creature in the water. And we said, sure, okay, we can help you out with that. And
Right.
he was looking at what we were doing there, and we were like, he says, well, what are you doing on the computer there? And we said, well, this is what we call our animatic. He said, what's that? And that was our previs basically back then, but there was no such word as previs then. We said, we call it an animatic. We're just basically blocking in the animation of what we're going to do. And he said, that looks really like technical. I said, yeah, well, we're using 3D Studio Max, so it's very technical. He said, like, how technical? Like, can you measure things and, the room and stuff? I'm like, yeah, you can get exact. And he said, what about the lenses? I said, oh, absolutely. And at that time, you could actually hit play on the play bar, and you see a wireframe go through, or even a shaded view, and it was great. And he's like, wow, I love this. He said, this would be, he said, you could really put camera angles in there. He said, you could put real lenses. We said, sure you could. And he said, I'm working on another movie right now. He said, I'm the special effects director on this movie. He said, I'm not a director on this movie, but I'm doing special effects of the explosions and stuff. And he said, I'd like you to talk to the visual effects director. So Clint and I went out and out to this movie that he was talking about, and this was X-Men. And
Wow.
the visual effects supervisor said, I haven't seen anything move like this before. This is incredible. And we showed him what we could do, and he was like, wow. And it went from a 2-week job doing supposed animated storyboards to a 9-month job of figuring out every camera angle of the movie that we did with Bryan Singer. So we did about 45 minutes of the movie. The only thing we didn't previs was talking heads. So that was what catapulted us, because at that time people went, oh, your name's on the credits for visual effects, so you must be doing visual effects. We went, sure we are.
Sure.
Sure we are. Sure we could do that. And so we started getting visual effects. And the funny story that preceded that, or after that, was we were asked to do Mutant X, because it was X-Men, Mutant X. We're asked to do a TV series, and they asked us to do a tooth grow. We did it in 3D. They loved it. We did it in a couple of days, because we didn't know how long things were supposed to take. We did it in a couple of days, and they were like astonished. Went, oh my god, we love this. All right, we got a talking head, but it's a holographic head, and we want you to do that. And so we, got the footage, and this was back in the days of, NTSC. So there was, 3-2 pull down on everything. So we didn't know what that was. We just did the head and gave them the footage and gave it back to them. And they went, oh my God, this is brilliant. We loved how you made it go all crazy, like every other frame. Like it just went all nuts and it looked really cool. We love that. And we were like, yeah, we meant to do that. And the post supervisor at the time just shook his head. He goes, you got the job, don't worry, but let me help you. He said, I know what actually happened. I know why, but, so let us help you. And that really did spring us into more visual effects. And all during that time, we were also doing a lot of animation. So Keyframe was doing animation, and as things went on, we were doing more and more visual effects and animation hand in hand. But as time went on, we realized you can't really have a website that has kids cute cartoons, and then at the same time heads exploding like we're doing for
Right.
Expanse and stuff like that. Because
Yeah.
people are looking for visual effects, they're seeing kids cartoon and don't want your product. People wanting kids cartoons, seeing heads exploding, they don't want your product. So
Right.
that's when
Right.
Clint and I decided that we were going to divide the company into Pro VFX and Keyframe Digital Animation. So that's
Gotcha.
yeah.
Cool. So you've got the two company sort of names, but I imagine behind closed doors, it's the same team or variations on that. Yeah.
Variations on it. There's more, like there's a group of animators that stay on that side, but the compositing artists are the same compositing artists. They composite.
Sure.
They don't care what it is, whatever is composite
Right.
is composite. So yeah.
Right. So more marketing communication out to the clients to say, we can do whatever you need to do. But yeah, no, I get it. I get it. We're doing a similar thing here because we have this sort of niche of, companies like yourselves, like visual effects and animation and video games and AR, VR. And then due to this crazy year we've just come through, we're also doing like a different company that does HR and sales and marketing and, operations people, but they could be in any industry. So similar, people come looking for us and go, oh, aren't you guys the guys that are in digital production? Like, no, we're also, so
Exactly.
I take your point. We had to do the same thing. So I'm curious, like I would imagine depending on how many shows you've got in, the size of the studio could be as low as, I don't know, I'm going to spitball like 10, 12 people up to like 60, 70, 80, 100 sometimes. Am I right?
Correct. Yep, you are absolutely correct. Yep, we have
Okay,
our
cool.
core group. We have our core group that stays consistent, and then that's about 15 or more people, and then we expand
Yeah.
up to, like, when we got a bunch of projects going, like I said, we've got an animation and a visual effects or a bunch of visual effects, then we'll go up to about 60 people. Yeah.
Great. So I'm curious, Darren, what do you think, because we talked about this briefly before, what do you think attracts certain people to your studio? Is it the projects or the location or the people, or, maybe a certain point in their career, this looks like a great spot to be? I'm curious, do you ever dissect that much, or is it more like, hey, we got a project, let's just staff it up?
No, I think what attracts people to us is, we don't do a lot of marketing. I would say we do zero marketing, to be honest.
Sure.
We don't even do our website. We just like let that, whatever. We just keep getting the projects and keep working on projects, and we don't toot our own horn. But the projects we get are everything from Netflix, NBC Universal. We get a lot of big name projects. We're doing a big mini series right now, or just before the actor strike, and doing a little bit of it now at the end. And we're also doing a TV series, another big TV series, big name TV series. We're doing Chucky right now. And I think people are attracted to those projects, but also when you get here, we're not so big that, you've got to go, mop the floors to start. We'll throw
Right.
you in and go, hey, what can you do? What do you want to do? How creative are you? We'll give you the rope to go ahead to see how far you can swing or hang yourself, to
Right.
see what you can do. But
Sure.
there's always the safety net. We always give the safety net. So we always have the leads there to be able to pick up and take that if you can't do it. But we always allow anyone who wants to do something, do it.
Right.
So, and we're willing to teach. So I think that's what
Right.
attracts people to it. They're not going to come in to animate someone's toe for a year. They're going to come in and
Yeah.
they're going to be given a scene. Here's your scene. What can you do? Oh, you can't do that? Okay, no big deal. What can you do? What do you feel comfortable with? Oh, you can do all of the backgrounds? Awesome. But now you have all the backgrounds. Great.
Yeah.
So,
That's fantastic. Yeah. The toe reminded me of a fellow we brought in from Montreal once, used to do blades of grass for 6 months. He lost his mind. He was just like,
exactly.
if I have to draw another, but it was one of those look dev things where like, well, it's too photoreal. Could you make it more stylized? And then they'd be like, no, could you make it more photoreal again? And then, yeah, that's too bluey green. Could you make it a little bit more yellowy green? And so he would go to the gym every day and work out in the middle of the day, I think just to get the frustration out.
Yeah.
And then just kept painting and different angles, like camera, drop it into the grass, now 2 inches above the grass, and this sort of thing. And they were going up to some executive producer and art directors and then into several cities, and somebody would come back with notes all the time. And he was like, oh, he said, I don't want to ever see grass again in my life. This is killing me. So he eventually went back to Quebec. I think it's never to return. He was like, no, I'm coming back for you guys.
And that's the beauty of what we're doing. Like when you get a show like even Chucky, one day it's okay, Chucky is in the city and we're doing, so it could be something as simple as sign removals in Toronto to make it look like New York. Okay, we're doing that. That's nice and simple. Or it could be as hard as, there's three puppeteers on the background and the background is moving and now you have to, take them all out, big shots like that. So every day is something different and something new. You never know what you're going to get. So it's always, a challenge, artistic challenge for sure.
Great. Cool. And are there any shows you can think of in the last sort of, I don't know, 10, 15 years that are near and dear to your heart, Darren, that they're like, this show, I really loved working on this? Or the crew went, this is the shit. I really love working on this.
I think Warehouse 13 was one of those shows. Lost Girl was one of those shows.
Right, Lost Girl's cool, yeah.
Expanse was fun.
Yeah.
There's a lot of good ones.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'd say
Cool.
Warehouse 13 was one of the biggest ones that we really enjoyed because it was every episode, you never knew what the object was going to be. So you did have the common stuff of the video screens that they were sharing and the warehouse itself. But then you'd have the flavor of the day was, there was an enchanted pen, and what does this do? You don't know. And it was always okay. They would give us the free reign to be creative and go, guys, we don't have time to even figure this out. You guys, we're doing a magic pen. You figure it out. And we would have to come up with something new. And it was always fun. It was great scripts. It was great writing. And it was great for our team.
Excellent. Cool. Want to touch for a second too on the whole COVID era, because I know that, every studio had to pivot and start working from home. And for some studios, that was much easier than others. And a lot of VFX dried up because there was no live action being shot for a while, right? So point two, right after that, though, I found, and you probably found when the vaccine started to flow, I can't remember if it was January 2020, maybe, things just went off the rails, right? Like all of a sudden more work than people globally, it seemed.
Yes.
And so I'm curious how you manage that kind of thing where there's multiple bids, you're getting more work than you can handle. Do you just cap it? How did you as a business owner look at that period of time?
That was a hard one because, it was very rare for us to be having so many projects come in, you have to pick and choose. And that was unusual, for us. And we did fall in the trap probably of taking on a couple of projects, too many projects that we should have. We expected them to overlap slightly and then, fall into place nicely, dovetail, as people would say, but they ended up, this one gets pushed, this one's get pulled, and all of a sudden you've got, 3 projects on top, and we were just, slammed, So it was hard on the artist, and I take full responsibility for that, and as well as Clint, and we tried to do our best, but it was a real hard slog for a while.
Time.
So much, but it was a good, a good problem to have. But at the same time, we learned our lesson, and making sure that things don't overlap so badly.
Yeah, and did you have it? I would imagine because we got calls left, right, and center for studios looking to hire people, and they couldn't find anybody. So I was imagining you find the same thing probably too, where there was just a talent shortage everywhere. You couldn't find enough compers, you couldn't find enough lighters, you couldn't find enough modelers. Am I correct?
You are correct. We got lucky on the animation side because we were doing an animation, and we just happened to have the season 2 of Happy House of Frightenstein come in, and it was a season 2. So, and everyone had a great time on the first season, and they all jumped in, and they were like an island unto themselves, and they just banged through that the first year of COVID, and they were enjoying that. So that went very well. But yeah, it was hard.
Crazy time.
It was a very hard time finding talent.
Oh yeah, and I don't know if you found it. Yeah, and did you find it too? Like the salaries went way up.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we were seeing requests of like 25% higher than just a year or two previously, and and in my mind, it's like you've been doing this a long time, so have I, and it's like salaries go up a few percent here and a few percent there, and occasionally a little bump somewhere, but this was across the board. I saw like. A compositing lead who a year previously been making maybe 95 or 100 grand at some studio. And now he or she's asking for 125. And I'm like, how do you go in 1 year from less than 100 to 100 and a quarter? Like, wow. And the guy would say, look, I've got 2 offers in hand right now for around that money. So if you want me, what do you got? And I thought, wow. You know, it was like an artist-driven market for a little bit there,
Yeah.
where they were just inundated with calls, and some of them didn't take the bait. They stayed where they were at and finished their projects. But there was a lot of people hopping around there for a bit, for greater opportunity or greater money. But then we hit 2023 with a writer's strike, actors strike, and I'm sure you felt it. I felt it. Almost everyone we know did. Were you able to pivot this year and pick up some other projects, or how did you get through 2023? Because it was quite a challenge for a lot of studios.
We had already had filmed, so we were on Chucky, and we were on another miniseries. We already had a lot shot, so we had a bunch already in the can, ready to go. So we were working up right up until 2 months ago, and then we had to lay off because there was
Right.
nothing else we could do. But we finished those episodes, got them out the door, and of course, because they didn't have because of that writers and actor strike, they wanted to push, so everything was pushed or pulled, I should say, very a lot back, and our schedule was crazy in the last month. It was just
Yeah.
insanity. Our last
Right.
episode, I think, had 261 shots or something, insanity
Wow.
like that. And it was, I don't even know how the guys did it. They so when we did have to lay them off, most of the artists were just like, yes, we need the break.
Need a break.
We need a break. We need a break. So
Yeah.
yeah, I don't want to keep them off very long, and we're now back into the saddle again, and things are starting to pick back up, and the next
Great.
wave of Chucky's coming back, and the other shows as well. So we're now back into it again. But it was
Excellent. Good to hear.
certainly a hard go for the last end of 2023 for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. And I noticed also, I called you about this. You wrote a children's book recently
Yes, indeed.
and illustrated it. Am I correct? You've done all the artwork in it?
Yeah. Yes, I did. So
Excellent. Excellent. Tell us a little bit about that, the background and, motivation and.
Well, for my own company and mine and Clint's company, I do a lot of the animation. I do the quick drawings, I'll do the illustrations or the roughs of the Bible and stuff like that. I've also been hired to do the storyboards for other places, and for and I do a lot of the storyboards at our own place. And on the side, when I'm not at work, I'm doing illustrations for other people's books. I've been doing it for years and years.
I see.
And I've always see these books coming through, and I see all these illustrations. I'm going, I could do that. I could do that. And then I had this idea in my head, and I went, I just want to do this book. I want to get this book done. And I've been working on this for over 3 years, and I do a little
Wow.
bit, put it aside, do a little bit, put it aside. And again, I've been doing it on the weekends and the evenings, whenever. And then finally, when the layoff did happen, I was able to focus more on it and finally finish it and just say, you know what, it's done. It's done. I'm putting it on Amazon, and it's finished. So, and that's what I did, and that's when I put it up there.
Excellent. I'm just going to bring it up on screen here. You can see that, can you? Yep.
Yeah, sure can.
Great. So Nottle's first day of school. And you put it up on Amazon recently, just a few weeks ago. Am I correct?
It was about a month ago, month and a bit. Yeah, I think it was the early part of November. It was actually released, and just this week I put a Kindle version up, which should be out any day now. I think it takes a few days before it gets launched, and so yeah, I've been doing some school tours. I've been doing doing a lot of marketing on my own.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's been getting good reviews and a lot of good reviews about it. So.
And can you give us a rough overview, Darren, of the sort of the theme or the story without spoiling it?
Absolutely. It's about this little bag. There's a little paper bag that goes to school, and he meets all these other lunch bags or lunch boxes, and he feels that because he's just a paper bag. He's not good enough to fit in. He's kind of intimidated by everything. And one of the lunch bags, of course, takes advantage of that and kind of bullies him a little, and makes fun of him for not being as awesome as he is. And we come to learn that he's talking about how awesome he is. He's got the cool stitching. He can take more weight. He can have the coolest lunch ever. And he's got this and he's got that. But when he reaches into the bag, he realizes that the bag is spilled. So there's milk spilled and ruined everything. So his lunch is ruined, and he reaches in, takes out the soggy sandwich, and of course he expects the character Nottle to make fun of him. But instead of making fun of him, Nottle reaches in, takes out his meager lunch, but it tastes awesome, and he decides to share it with the guy who was making fun of him. And it's a little lesson of diversity, a lesson of fitting in versus belonging. And at the very end, of course, there's a note that his mom gave him at the beginning, and the other character says, apologizes because I had a rotten apple inside of me. I apologize for being, a bad guy. But what was that note that I read? And of course, at the very end, we realize the note says it's what's inside that counts. So it brings the whole lunchbox thing back to what's actually inside that is what's matters.
Yeah. Excellent. I was just enjoying I've got it on the screen to the right of me. I was just enjoying the illustrations, and I love this one too, where you've got kind of a monochromatic, like black and white, almost like a charcoal or pencil sketch going on there.
Yeah. So every other one I did a charcoal sketch on paper a bag. So it's like a paper bag background.
Yeah. Oh, it's fun. That looks amazing. So, and do you think this will launch other books? Did you enjoy it, or is it just tons of work, or what's your perspective
but I
on
enjoyed it? I mean, it's not about the money or anything like that. I just enjoyed doing the book, and and I made sure that when I did this story, I made enough diverse characters in the classroom that it could lend itself to other stories, which I'm already working on now. So, I'm hoping that I can, get time to do another one and more, and then many more of them.
Yeah. No, good for you. It's fantastic. I love it.
Thanks.
Good. I'll take the screen share off for a second. Great. So I'm just curious. So we pivot to it's end of 2023. We're heading into 2024. Actors strike is wrapped up. Writers strike is wrapped up. It sounds like there's some other rolling strikes in different places. But are you feeling confident that the traditional business is going to come back? Is it going to start to build in the first few months of 2024?
Traditional business? No, I don't think it's ever going to be the way that it was. I truly don't.
Right.
I'd love to say it is, but right now, our employees all want to stay home, and they're doing well, and so that's one thing. But in this time off, I'm sure as you have been watching what's happening with AI and what's happening in that world, and it's a double-edged sword. It will certainly help speed things up, but it's also a curse in that expectations of, oh well, I saw someone's head replaced, and that was done in real time, so we expect that shot to be done tomorrow.
Right.
That doesn't work that way.
Yeah. I've been like yourself. I've been watching some of these, and they're people are posting them all over the place on social media. Where I saw one the other day where it was just a bird, and it was a still, but then a couple clicks, and it looked at the camera, winked, and then looked back. And I said, "How did you do that?" And they said, "Well, it's just prompts." And we asked it to do this and that, and occasionally it gives you some garbage, but occasionally. And the one they were showing was like the 1 out of 10 that worked really well.
Yeah.
But they said it took us 20 minutes to do this instead of like the 8 or 10 hours it might have taken traditionally. So yeah, I take your point. And I've dealt with ad agencies and design firms, and they're always on a really short time frame as well. And so they love the idea that they can get 20 or 30 concepts in a few minutes in front of a client's face now. And that's a little frightening. The pace of how we're going to deliver things in this industry now is going to get even shorter, faster,
And less money again, I think. And that's why I think, without VFX having a union or some type, or we're always at the bottom of a movie list credits. And I think it's just going to get worse, because I've seen, like I said, back in Warehouse 13 days all the way to now, and the screen is getting bigger. We're going from HD now to 4K to 8K. The computers are faster, but we're not exponentially getting faster that way. And the problem with getting so much larger, the computers may be getting faster, but at some point, the detail that we're needing to do now, we could get away with, I could, do a hand puppet back in some of those things. You can do, a blur of something and put enough blur on it. Oh, that's good. Go out the door.
Right.
Now it's 8K, and it's got to be right down to the pore, you know?
Yeah, yeah. Which is, I find it freaky. Some of the newer screens, I think they're almost too hyper real now. Like
Yeah,
they remind me a little bit of like that treatment on one of the Hobbit movies where they did this strange colorization. It's like,
I
no,
saw
no,
that.
yeah, it doesn't look normal now, right? And
No,
that's what it feels like. I was at a friend's place recently, and she got a brand new screen up for Christmas, and I'm like, there's something really off in the settings. Like it's too, like I said, I can see this person's pores in their. I've never been able to see that, nor did I want to see that.
no,
Where are we
I think it's
going
what
here?
throws you out of it. I was the one you
Yeah,
were talking about, the Lord of the Rings. Someone had showed what was movie release, and then they showed it with AI enhanced 8K version, and showed
right.
two screens. I'm going, I don't want to see that. That now I that fantasy is no longer fantasy. Now you've made it completely
Yeah,
realistic, and it looks bizarre.
yeah,
It just
yeah,
doesn't work for me.
yeah.
Uh,
No, exactly. It's
but yeah,
but it
so
is to your point there. I think we're going to see engineers I talk to love it because they can build really quick tools and things that they would like basic code they would have to do late at night because that's the only time they have in their schedule. They say like now I can put a couple prompts in, and it's if it's open source code that's already been written by somebody, they don't even have to search it. The chat engine will just the AI engine will just pop it up. So I've heard from a few engineers they love it. It means it's going to displace, I think, junior programmers who normally would have had to do all that grunt level kind of
yeah,
code. Um, so I would think like the trickle down is the colleges and universities are going to have to start teaching different as well because they no longer need to create the basic fundamental programmer. They need to create somebody more elevated or someone who manages, you know what I mean? Like without detailing it exactly, there's going to be shifts all over the place. I think and the colleges usually I find are kind of a year or two behind the curve anyways. They'll have to really catch up and figure out how to get ahead of this because some curriculum takes years to get approved sometimes. So that'll be a challenge. The whole ecosystem around how we go to work in this industry, I think, is shifting.
yeah.
That'd be a fair comment.
Yeah, I would say so. I'm looking at a lot of I've been seeing a lot lately where I used to get a lot of concept work. I don't ever get that hardly at all in this year. It's
Yeah.
just because
Yeah.
and then a lot of people are showing me look at what I did for I just made my pitch Bible, and it's done all this gorgeous work, and it's like, wow, that's incredible. Who did that? And they went, oh, I did it. I just AI'd it. I just made it out of
Yeah.
AI. I'm like, okay, you did your whole pitch Bible with AI. They went, yep. And you go, that's great. I don't know that we've crossed some line somewhere if we're pitching that.
Yeah.
I know that's not going to be the final work, but yeah, that's
But
what
not even that. If they get awarded the work, who are they going to get to do that work now?
exactly.
Because you're going to have that artist who walks in and goes, "Oh, I can mimic that style."
Yeah,
But if he or she can't, then yeah, you have just basically oversold your studio or your abilities because you just don't have an artist who can actually make that stuff. So that's where I think the fall down is going to be, right? It's going to be
exactly.
so
Yeah,
I get it for rough comps, ideation. If you're spitting things at the wall, trying to figure out where is this going to go, or doing look dev,
yeah,
you can pull out things. But yeah, at the end of the day, someone is still going to have to create the originals when it comes down to it. And so I think it's going to cut the pre-production time down, but you're still going to need a very talented artist to produce this stuff.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. All right. Anything you want to talk about or add at all, Darren? It's great. I mean, we got a background and history check kind of on you in the book and a little bit of coming through the pandemic and the crazy that's happened. So, but is there anything else you want to add or, shout out to anybody? And again, if anyone wants to find you, Keyframe Digital or Crow VFX, you're in St. Catharines. You've got two websites. They can find you on LinkedIn, I guess, as well.
Absolutely. And yeah, shout out to my business partner Clint, who's on set right now and on Chucky right now. So he's out there, and him and I are planning on a lot of big things for Crow in the very near future. So we're gearing up for all these new projects and revamping right now. Our server is being completely revamped as we speak. So yeah,
Right.
doing a lot of big things.
Good. Excellent. Well, look, thanks for your time today. I really appreciate it. And hopefully at some point, maybe next year, we can jump on again, talk about your second book.
That'd be awesome. Let's hope.
No pressure. No pressure.
No pressure.
All right. Thanks
Mike.
again. I'll see you soon. Take care now.
Take care. Bye. Bye.